So today we're going to be ranking most, if not all, good battleground games in Roblox. We have a huge list to go through, and the ones you see on the bottom aren't even all of them. So stick to the end, because you're going to find some battleground games you've never even heard of. Let's go. The first game on the list is Rampage. Now this game was released a few months ago, and so far it's a great game. It has great combat and a good number of characters, but it feels somewhat shallow. All the characters in the game behave almost the same way combat-wise. Sure, they have different moves and whatnot, but they almost feel like the same character, just with different moves. And there are still a lot of bugs in the game, which sometimes just ruin the experience. But despite that, I believe this game has great potential. They've been adding characters that we've never seen before, like Dio. Tell me which good Battlegrounds game has Dio, and Madara, and Gedo, I guess. And the game is very fun to play as well. I've never been bored playing this game for hours. So with that all out of the way, I have to give this game a solid A tier. The second game is Jujutsu Shenanigans. This game, by far, is the most unique. Why, you may ask? Well, it's pretty simple. Because there is never a moment of peace when you play Jujutsu Shenanigans. This game might look like crap. It might not have the best combat, and it might not have the best effects. But you know what it has? It's fun. This game doesn't act like a battleground. It doesn't even take itself seriously. I mean, just look at the model for Mahoraga. This game did something no other Battlegrounds game could. It added something new and fresh. Destruction physics weren't a thing until this game came out, and it also added R+ special moves to each character, giving them their own unique playstyle. This game gets an S tier from me. The next game is Ultimate Battlegrounds. Now, where do I even begin? This battleground is pretty generic and bland in my opinion. It has some decent characters like Gone and Gone. But other than that, it doesn't really have anything unique or interesting going for it. It's your average Battlegrounds game with average combat and average characters. Plus, it takes them literal decades to finish one character, and mob isn't even that good. But it is still better than most Battlegrounds, so for that B tier. Next game is Heroes Battlegrounds. This game is a battleground of the anime My Hero Academia, and has been out for almost as long as the Strongest Battlegrounds and Z Battlegrounds. But one thing this game has over others are its visuals. Just take a look at this. It's just pure eye candy. This game has some of the best visual effects from any Battlegrounds. Even the TSB can't compete with it. But of course this game has its own flaws. The combat is a bit weird in my opinion. The dashes and the side dashes are sometimes hard to connect, and when you have your ultimate, it's very easy for someone to just run away because you don't really get a speed increase whatsoever. You do get unlimited dashes, but they're absolutely horrendous. Another important thing to note is how much the visuals can get in the way. Now, I know I said its visuals are great, but sometimes it's just all over the screen, making it very hard to know what you're doing. But despite all of that, this game is still in the top 4 best Battlegrounds games in Roblox. It gets an A tier. Next up is the Strongest Battlegrounds. There isn't even a competition. This was the first proper Battlegrounds game to ever release. Because of this game, all the Battlegrounds that I've mentioned even exist. It was the first to introduce the Battlegrounds mechanics and change the PvP genre of Roblox. Instant S tier, without any question. Now let's talk about some honorable mentions. Legends Battlegrounds is a martial art-based battleground, and it is probably the most underrated one out of all of them. The combat is really nice, but it is a bit janky. The only problem I have with this game is its update frequency. The game has been out for 1 year, and we still haven't gotten a second character. In 1 whole year. The second character doesn't even have his ultimate's abilities yet. But I do think that this game can become really good if the owner just decides to pay more attention to it. It goes to B tier. Next up, Z Battlegrounds. Now the thing with this game is, it was the first Dragon Ball Z-inspired Battlegrounds, but If I'm being honest, it's absolute crap. The combat is bad, the owner hasn't made any changes since they released it, the visuals are okay, but most of the transformations are just cool-looking auras around the character, no hair changes, etc. There's a better version of Z Battlegrounds called Key Battlegrounds, and it's far better than this. I'd give this game a C tier. Now here's a game you've probably never heard of, Chakra Battlegrounds. This game is by far the best Naruto-inspired battlegrounds I've seen on Roblox. It has good combat, it has clashing, and it even has something unique of its own. It has weather physics. The game doesn't have much content yet because it's still in the demo phase, but it hasn't really been getting many updates, so I'm not sure where this game will go, but so far things look promising, B tier. And the last game on the list, Sorcerer's Battleground. Now, this game used to be the king of Jujutsu Kaisen Battlegrounds before Jujutsu Shenanigans came around. Now, this game used to be good. Focus on the word used to be, because they made some changes, aka updates, which for me basically ruined the game. They changed the combat completely, which I still have mixed feelings about. Their updates on the characters have been lackluster and very infrequent. The owner has also gotten into some controversies, which shows in the progression of this game. This game used to be the golden game when you wanted to play a Jujutsu Kaisen Battlegrounds, but now it's a shell of its former self, C tier. So here's the final list. Let me know if you agree with this, and if not, write down in the comments. I'll be sure to check them out. That's all for today.